Windass waits. And Johnson scores! Masaba's in the middle. Wednesday here could seal it. Gassama finds Masaba. Yeah!
Now Bannon with a great ball in. Here's an opportunity. Palmer scores! Liam Palmer has scored for Sheffield Wednesday.
How the hell did we not win that game? 17 shots, and the only one that found the net was the one from 12 yards. Still, only 2 points outside the playoffs. And up next, a side that's in them. Hello and welcome to Wednesday Till I Die podcast. I'm James Mappin. Alongside me is Matt Johnson. Feeling a little bit worse for wear, but he's here nonetheless. Matt, how's things? All good?
Yeah, serious case of man flu today. Apologies all if it sounds like I've taken up a 40-a-day smoking habit. I haven't. Yeah, it's just a real serious case of man flu. But yeah, aside from that, James, all good.
Great stuff. Well, other than the man flu, I know it's serious and all that. So do get well soon. Matt, it has to go down as 2 points drops once again at home. Third consecutive draw, and I suppose you have to say that we should have perhaps won all three, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Luton have taken 4 points off us when realistically they probably deserve none this season. Yeah, it was very, very frustrating yesterday. It would have been more frustrating had we not found the equaliser. I think that is the big takeaway. I think as we'll get on to over the course of it as well, I do think, I'll be completely honest, I am going to give Luton defensively, the two centre-halves and the goalkeeper in particular, quite a bit of credit as well, because for a side that are second bottom, haven't won away from home in 12, not even drawn any, lost all 12 straight.
Yeah,
it was a really good defensive display from two players who sum total 15 million quid's worth of defenders, a goalkeeper who's coveted by Premier League. I know, again, all of this is, I sound very Chris Wilder here and big hitters and all the rest of it.
Do you know what? You could try your hardest. You'll never sound as salty as Chris Wilder, to be honest.
No, again, I think credit to him. It's very, very, very frustrating. And there was, anytime you close your eyes, you can still see Josh Windass skying one over the bar. But it is what it is. Again, we've been saying it all season, James, and I know Chef Camus also in the chat as well has also been saying it all season. Play like that, you'll win more games than you lose. And that is ultimately why we find ourselves just 2 points off the playoffs.
The thing is, I keep saying that. And obviously we do win a few games, but I was hoping that we'd be winning a few more. Do you know what I mean? But it is, isn't it? Win, lose, draw, win, lose, draw. I think we have to lose on Saturday to keep that run up, and I hope we don't do that. I really don't. Cause we'll come on to it, but it's a massive game on Saturday. We're getting to that sort of time, aren't we, where we can say that games are big and things as the league table kind of sorts itself out and everything. But yeah, before we get on to the nitty gritty of the 1-1 draw against Luton. Signings are like buses, aren't they? We don't sign one for 30 days and then two come at once. We nearly do dry January, but we fail at the final hurdle and sign someone on the final day of January. Normally that would be deadline day, but for whatever reason, it's Monday the 3rd this time around. But yeah, Stuart Armstrong, the former Southampton man's coming from Vancouver Whitecaps. Clearly didn't work out over there. The other one being Ibrahim Sissoko on loan from Toulouse, with his loan being cut short at Plymouth. Just before we carry on, we are going to be giving our thoughts, extensive thoughts on both of those signings on extra time. So if you want to hear that, do head over to patreon.com/WTID pod. Join the other 200 people also that's already signed up to become a member. We are going to record that straight after tonight's show, so you'll be able to listen to that from tomorrow morning. But yeah, on the signings, Matt, just briefly, two signings. One number 8, number 10. The other one, an out-and-out winger, can play mainly on the left, but can play on the right-hand side. Just before that, I just want to say as well, when this was kind of rumoured, the Armstrong one, I did say, I didn't really think centre mid was really an area of concern. I got a lot of pelters for that. People saying,
no,
we've put Palmer in there. Of course, it's an area of concern. Can't you see? What happened in the second half against Bristol City? I just want to preface this by saying that's an if. What we're saying is what if Barry Bannon and Shea Charles, who up to now have played every single game pretty much, apart from suspensions, pretty much every single game between the start of the season till now, we're saying, what if they pick up an injury? Which, yeah, they might do. That's something that could happen. However, let's just address the elephant in the room, centre-back, where we haven't got anyone. We've got 2 injuries currently, actual injuries to players. Do you know what I mean? And then up front, where, yeah, we've got Smith that's banging them in still, and yes, we've got Windass, and maybe it's not as much of a concern. But I was just saying, if we're going to sign anyone, let's hope that it's a centre-back. Quite a lot of people said as well, we can sign them players as well. It's not just one or the other, which I do get. But yeah, I just wanted to preface that I'm not, because then someone else said, well, you were unhappy about this signing earlier, and now you're singing all dancing about him. Again, I can still be happy about a signing, even if I think we should have signed someone else first. But the window's still open, Matt, innit? We could still get them players in. But anyway, Armstrong and Sissoko.
So what you're saying, James, is that social media reacted angrily to somebody having a thought that was out of the norm just because we'd signed a player. You do strike me as I am definitely surprised by that, James. You do surprise me.
Basically, I didn't just get outside and start banging the drum and hallelujah, we've signed a player and all that. Yeah, I did have some reservations, but at this point, we've not even signed him. By the way, it was just literally we were looking at him. So I was like, can't we look at a centre back instead, like where we actually need players? But I do agree with what people are saying. Yes, we was also on this show and saying when Shea Charles wasn't playing and we had to play Palmer in midfield, it was an absolute shit show. So I do get that as well. Bringing Armstrong in, hopefully, fingers crossed, we don't have to use Liam Palmer in midfield again.
I mean, both of us have got a working set of eyes, like everybody else. You could see that was a shambles when Shea Charles wasn't available. In regards to the 2 signings, Stuart Armstrong is a player who comes in with an awful lot of championship experience, a very canny operator at this level, has played the majority of his career above this level. And done, very, very well for Southampton. Played a lot.
Can I just say as well, his hairline is fantastic.
Apologies all. He's a very good-looking man. Wow,
very suave, isn't it? I can imagine him just being in like the next James Bond film or something like that.
There's him and Danny Roll having a competition for who's better looking every single time. I dread to think how much hairspray the pair of them get through. They've just gone into George Byers' old locker and just taken out all that got to be glued stuff.
Yeah, Weller, that's going to be the next sponsor next season. Weller on the front of the shirts. But anyway,
but yeah,
I know that. Obviously, looking at my hair, I have no idea.
Yeah, but I wasn't going to make. I was sure someone was going to pick it up, James. Yeah, on the surface of it, very good signing. Would I prefer he was 26? Yes, but if he was 26, nicest one in the world, he wouldn't be available to us at this point in time. Ibrahim Sissoko, when it was originally put out by, I think Alex Miller had the story first, surrounding, SWFC Media had it an hour before.
Yes, they did.
But when Alex Miller put it out, I immediately commented underneath, what a player. Because he is in an absolute dog of a season for Plymouth. He is the only, I confess I've only watched Plymouth maybe 4 or 5 times this season. He has looked their most competent and consistent attacking threat. On his day, absolutely unplayable. But again, from what Plymouth fans seem to have backed up is that if you wanted anything out of him defensively, he's not got that in his locker at the minute. I would argue that was probably Jeddy Gassama 12 months ago. And now, you do find Jeddy Gassama works back. Very exciting signing, very good player to add into the ranks. It's nice to see us going down towards the bottom end of the division and actually poaching a player. I know that's not going to go down well with Plymouth fans, kind of that view, but how many times have we seen other teams go down, dip into that area, take their, like Morgan Whittaker, I'm thinking at Middlesbrough went in, obviously paid an absorbent amount of money for. It's a really, really good signing with, I believe, an option to buy at the end of the year. I don't think it's mandatory, is it? Because there was a couple of things that were going around at the end of the year saying it was a mandatory, you've got to buy him, but I think it's an option or a first option of £2 million. Really, really good signing. Gives us another creative attacking outlet on that wing that is going to hopefully be a really consistent provider. It's a very, very nice headache for Danny to have. Now, I know
Matt, do you see it as well as Gassama? as in like playing them both in the same squad, or do you see it as a instead of, as in like, one will start, the other one will be on the bench, and then kind of, chop and change as and when whoever we're coming up against, really?
I think at the moment, Jenny Gassama is one of those Shea Charles, Bannon, undroppable type of players just because his form is so good. But there is no harm in having competition for places. If you can, because Danny obviously likes to play with inverted forwards, forwards who do come in, they don't just always go down the line. They can do, but predominantly they like to come inside. If you can take a player who has, over the course of the season gone down the outside like Sissoko has and actually say, no, I just want you to come inside and get shots off if you can. Really, really good. It's a nice option to add in. I would imagine that now becomes a rotating three of Sissoko, Gassama and Windass, with kind of like rotation between all of them. Keeps them fresh as well. And we know that's what Danny wants to do, really.
Yeah, just on the Armstrong one as well, having spoken to a few Southampton fans as well, clearly they've said he's can't really do the Tuesday thing anymore, which again is when he's coming into that midfield that's already got Bannon and Charles in it. I know he can play a three, and we might be doing that, but someone who's happy to be kept out is also a bonus as well, because that's going to happen quite a few times. He might not play, or he might only get 45 minutes. So if he already knows that himself, then yeah, that's always a positive. Right, before we get into the match as well, I just want to say, we always bang on about Discord all the time, but I have made it open to public as well. I've added some public channels in there. There's Wednesday chat, there's just general football, and then just, off-topic stuff as well. So the link, if anyone's interested, is in the Twitter bio. I will put it in the show notes as well, so you just head over, join, totally free. You don't have to be a member or anything like that. And yeah, it's all good fun. Lots of people. I mean, I put the link out on Friday, I think it is, and loads of people have joined up already. Yeah. So lots of discussions. And I think you were a convert to Discord. I don't think you haven't really used Discord, had you, before? No. We started. So, and it's good, isn't it? It's all right. It's not daunting at all.
If you can get past the first 24 hours, it's really, really good. The first 24 hours is where's this, what's going on. It's like anything. It's like, do you remember when you first moved over to like an iPhone or a smartphone from like, a Sony Ericsson or something like that, and you go over to it and you go, what is all of this? Like, lots of flashing lights and lots of things going off. But it is really, really easy to do. And the fact that rather than having it in sort of like a WhatsApp where it's just a constant thread of consciousness, it actually does segregate it down into different areas of football. So say, for argument's sake, there's obviously the stuff to do with Wednesday, but there is also the stuff to do with if you're watching the Man City mauling this evening. There'll be chats going on about it in there. It is really useful. And if you like somebody like myself who isn't native to Sheffield and doesn't get the opportunity to speak to many people about the game, like on a regular basis, or you're just looking for Phoenix Knights quotes, join and jump in.
Yeah, he's a lot of Phoenix Knights references at the moment as well. So, fill your boots. Anyway, let's get on to the match then. As always, we started with the starting lineup. Beadle in goal, Valerie Ekwa, Bernard and Max Lowe, Charles Bannon, Pato, Windass, Gassama and Jamal Lowe. Copy and paste from last week because he made no changes whatsoever. Very rare that he's done that. I mean, in hindsight, we might have thought that it's perhaps not the thing to do, but were you happy with that starting lineup from the off, Matt?
Very rarely. I'm going to say this. No. I got no problem with 10 of the players selected. I did have a problem with Callum Patterson being selected. I know he scored the week before. I know he'd had a touch, and me and you sat here saying a fantastic touch, but that was his 1 in 5. I mentioned last week he'll have 1 in 5 games where he's very good. For me, a side that is challenging for the playoffs, and this is no slight on Callum Patterson, shouldn't be playing in a front attacking 3. Shouldn't be anywhere near it, to be perfectly honest. In my personal opinion, can't be starting games moving forward for a side that are 2 points off the playoffs, unless it's like a triple game week when you've got a full week and build up and you've got the opportunity to rest players and kind of get them back up to speed. Me personally, I'm of the opinion that he shouldn't start. I understood why Danny had gone with it, but I didn't agree with it.
Yeah, I was a little bit shocked. The other one as well is like kind of Smith not starting. Clearly, Danny likes Smith coming off the bench, which fair enough. I mean, one thing I would say as well, he did come out after the game and actually explain as to why he did what he did, which I think was good. If you can do that, great. Obviously, he was saying that he wasn't sure how they were going to set up because they'd kind of switched to I think they'd switched to a back five, but they predominantly played a back four, under previous managers and stuff. So, yeah, he wasn't sure how they were going to set up. So the way that we set up meant that we could adapt if needs be. Had we had played other players, perhaps not as adaptable. So, yeah, fair enough for him explaining that. But yeah, I was all right with it. I do feel like, I think I'm always glass half full pre-game. I'm thinking, it worked last week, so why can't it work this week and everything else? Like I said, I would have preferred to see Michael Smith, if I'm being perfectly honest, just because I think he's a man in form and you've just got to play form players. But like I said, I weren't too bothered about Pato. I thought he needs a bit of a run. He hasn't had much chance. Do you know what I mean? And you get a goal, he could have perhaps done something. I mean, Armstrong wasn't selected to start, which not really surprising given he'd only turned up 24 hours prior. But he was on the bench, and good to see him on there. If they're going to come in, they need to hit the ground running, especially when you're a January signing. So yeah, I was good. It was good to see Armstrong there for me.
100%, and it gives us that option which we desperately needed in the second half to actually go to what I think Danny has been wanting to play all year, which is a 3 in midfield, and actually have that with a level of quality that we just haven't had before. It was really, really good to see him on the bench. I would imagine the same for Ibrahim Sissoko at the coming game against West Brom. I'd be surprised to see him start, but ultimately, Danny knows his team, and again, I know we're going to talk about it a lot this evening, James, but a bit of perspective. This point last year, we were 7 points adrift of safety. We're 2 points outside the playoffs with, realistically, yes, it's a better squad, but much of it is fairly similar in terms of the quality, and both Danny and the players have overperformed. We've now seen in the last, 24, 48 hours, reinforcements come through the door in the shape of 2 players. If they've got the additional quality both players have been playing recently, they should be fit enough to go in and around that team.
Yeah, definitely. Matt, can you stop talking sense, please, on this podcast? It's not what we do over here. So I don't feel comfortable as a Wednesday fan talking sense. I'm just going to read a few comments out before we kind of move on to the game. Then Daniel said, "Very frustrated not to win that yesterday. Any other day we win 4-1." Yep, agreed. Well, Chef Cam certainly agrees with you as well. George has said Palmer should be nowhere near the first team. That's his view. Rob said fans reacting to a different opinion. Imagine my shock. Alex has said need to tie Gassama down to a new contract ASAP. The run made for the penalty, it was like a steam train, even on a plain surface, as bad as it is. Yeah, we're going to be talking about him a little bit later on. Daniel's also said, do you think Sissoko is a replacement for Masaba, not being in the squad for the last 2 games? Just on that, yeah, he's whilst Gassama is the flavour of the month, Anthony Masaba's the opposite, whatever the opposite is.
Yeah, I agree with you, James. I mean, I've been a long advocate of the fact that I think personally Jedi Gassama is the better player of the 2. That's not recency bias. I've been saying that since the start of the season. I was saying that since, I think, last year as well, like midway through last season. I think that's a player now that you look to move on from in terms of Anthony Masaba. I think we have sat here and parroted this need to recognise when you need to move a player on. Don't get me wrong, if Anthony Masaba is here, I would still expect him to have 2 or 3 meaningful contributions before the end of the season, because that's what he does. He goes, he can be relatively anonymous for 80. We've got the opponent's West Brom at the weekend. You think about the home game, he come on into that game, scored a really, really important goal late on when we were on an awful run of form at that point in time. That was the first win since the opening day of the season. Really, really important goal, shifted the momentum. He scored a couple of other important goals and contributed in assists. I just personally feel now is the time to move on from that player and give the reins over to your Josh Windasses, your Jedi Gassamas, your Ibrahim Sissoko, your Olaf Kabatsky, these players who I think clearly Danny has a bit more trust in terms of being able to do the job. And I'm not saying that he doesn't trust Anthony Masaba, because he has shown over his time here that he does rate the player. But there is an opportunity here to make 750 grand to £1 million on Anthony Masaba. Now, you've got to go out and find a buyer, but there will be somebody out there, whether they're in this country or whether they're abroad, different issue, but there is market value in that player at this point in time. The longer you hold him, the more you don't play him, the more that value is going to drop.
Yeah, 100%. And it's amazing how, that you mentioned earlier, having two working eyes and stuff. It's amazing how stats can tell a different story.
Yeah.
Anthony Masaba, 7 goal contributions so far this season in the league. Jedi Kasama, only 5. 4 goals and 1 assist for Jedi, and then 2 goals and 5 assists for Anthony Masaba. It's mad, isn't it? And that is probably the most frustrating thing about Anthony Masaba. He's one of those players and doesn't look like he's doing much. Nope. And then you look at your numbers. Great for fantasy football. Do you know what I mean? Great fantasy football player. He keeps coming up with, And the other thing as well, he's only played 1,087 minutes, which is 8 minutes more than what Michael Smith's played this season. So
he's impactful. I'm not arguing the point that he's impactful. I am arguing the point that we are a better side without him in it. And
I think the other thing that Jedi Kasama's got, I mean, I know Tom mentioned this in the first half by saying he's the only ball carrier that we had in the team yesterday, and that is something that he can do. They can both do the same thing. You should get Kasama tends to win a foul or. I know we talk about end product and stuff. It might not end in a shot or anything like that, but he does seem to advance the ball, quite far up the pitch and get something at the end of it. Whereas Masaba seems to give the ball away, and then we're on a count. We're having to defend a counter attack or something like that. Let's talk about the match then. In terms of thoughts overall, I just can't get over the fact that we absolutely battered them in the second half. I was saying to Steve, it's coming. I'm looking, thinking it's half an hour left. Surely we're going to score. It was chance after chance after chance. The amount of times I was out of my seat, another one that's just gone wide. There were so many chances that we had, but and again, you've already said it already. If we play like that for the majority of the games in the rest of the season, we will win more games than we lose, because we absolutely hammered them. Luton fans have been walking out there thinking, Christ almighty, we were 1 goal up, but I suppose a little bit like how we felt against Bristol City. We were leading in the game, but actually we were lucky not to lose that one.
Yeah, 100%. I think the opportunity to have a similar first half performance was there yesterday. In terms of the second half, the attacking performance from the side was great. Defensively, honest answer is they probably didn't have to do a lot, and what they did have to do, they did it relatively comfortably. There was, I think, a Josh Bowler shot, which kind of he dragged wide, where there was 2 or 3 players closing him down on the edge of the area. It was a poor finish because he's got time and space in the box. He should be hitting the target or making James Beadle do some work. Aside from that, they didn't create anything at all second half. Again, I go back to that point about the first half. I do think the opportunity was there to do that in the first half. We couldn't find a way through the press, and it took Stuart Armstrong and us going to a midfield 3. Stuart Armstrong coming on and us going to a midfield 3 that I think actually opened the pitch up massively for us, because there were pockets of space for us to try and play the ball through the lines yesterday into Bannon and Windass, who predominantly found themselves in the number 10 area in the first half, where they were really in acres of space, absolute acres of space. When I talk acres, I'm talking 10 yards either side of them. And we just couldn't get the ball to them. And in the second half, we found that with that midfield 3, there was always an alternate option open, and actually playing through the middle of the park to begin with then opens up the space on the wings. What we did in the first half was we tried to go wide. The problem was we only had 1 wide threat. And again, I'm not meaning to dig Callum Patterson out because he works his nuts off like he always does. The quality's just not there.
I just left him.
Yeah, of course, because you might as well. Because it's a 1 in 5 chance that it's going to be a ball that's on the mark. He hit it was in the first half, he hit an absolute sidewinder, outside of the boot, drilled ball across the and it looked lovely had it not been 5 yards over everybody's head.
Yeah.
It looked wonderful, really good, difficult technique to do, but it's 5 yards over everybody's head. And that was the only ball of note that I thought that came in of any sort of danger from that side of the pitch. Yes, we had a lot of crosses, but they all hit the first man and they were easily and comfortably cleared. Jenny Kusama was then doubled up on the other side, and we just struggled to create in that first half.
Matt, game week 1, it all clicked.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had another game this season where it has all just come together. When it's just in that first game against Plymouth, every pass came off, every attack ended up in a shot. It seemed like everything we touched turned to gold, and we scored 4 goals and didn't concede any either. I know there's obviously other things, other contributing factors, i.e. how shit Plymouth were, but still, everything worked, and I just don't think. I don't think
mate, they were bad, weren't they?
Well, we were trying to convince ourselves that they weren't, and we were just that good. But I think I'm gonna kind of concede defeat and say that yes, they were really bad.
They were bad.
But I just feel like ever since then, I keep saying, don't I? We're good in between both boxes. We're getting either box. We're not really good at defending them, and similarly, we're not really good at finishing the chances. Even though, again, like people keep alluding to, we're 4th highest in terms of goals scored this season. I just want to question how shit everyone else is. Do you know what I mean? Because we keep coming on here every single week and saying we've missed this chance, we've missed that chance. We could have had 4 goals easily yesterday.
Yeah.
We've just for the big chances that we created, and we're walking away with having to settle with a penalty goal. Do you know what I mean? To actually. To get anything on the mark, but yeah, like I said, I was really impressed with that second half, and just walked away frustrated that we'd not picked up all 3 points. The other thing that frustrated me though, Matt, is like, why do we have to go a goal down to start actually playing? Because we seem to do it, time and time again. It's the 18th time that we've actually gone behind this season from just 29 games. I mean, I know we've gone on to win 4, draw 4, and pick up the most points from losing positions in the league. But it's just we're just making things hard for ourselves. I do feel though that Danny wants to just get to that 60-minute mark.
Yeah,
we're still with plenty in the tank.
Yes.
For that final half an hour, and then that's when we seem to turn it on and score most of his goals. We've scored 13 in the first half this season. 30 goals have come in the second half that we've scored. So that's just not a coincidence. Do you know what I mean? I think that's actually, obviously his game plan isn't, don't score in the first half, but we do find that we do kind of, come into our own late on in games. He's probably looked at the data and said that, when teams are tiring, there's more chance of you scoring in those areas. If you're tired, you can't score, but if you're fresh or as fresh as you can possibly be. But the problem is like yesterday when we go into that 60-minute mark, a goal down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do take the point, James. I think it's a mark of a couple of things. I think firstly, it's a mark of how fit the squad are, that we get to 60 minutes and still continually have our foot firmly to the floor. And you can visibly see teams, like we've seen teams this year, tire. I can think of Bristol City at home. I know that's recency bias, but Bristol City at home, perhaps Swansea at home, where we didn't really do anything all evening. But every other game, aside from the ones where we've taken a slapping early, like early on in the season, I'm not thinking about the Leeds 3-0 because up until the 89th minute we were still in that game. We are not only a second half team. I think that simplifies it. I think it's a mark of, number one, how fit the squad is, because we are a really fit squad, like toe to toe, pound for pound. We are as fit as anybody in this division. Secondly, I think it's a mark of the fact that the squad is rotated for a reason, because the players coming on are very fresh. The players who are coming on, I listened to you did the preview with the OK Football Show, the Luton Town podcast this week, and they were talking about, the subs came on yesterday for Sheffield Wednesday and had a massive impact and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, yeah, but we see that weekly. It's very rare that we see substitutes come on and don't.
What was that stat in the Leeds game? I think we were talking about goals from substitutes, and we were top of that ranking, weren't they? Yeah. So I think we had 11. We obviously, Smith scored again, so they make that 12 now. That number's going up,
and that keeps your squad happy, your wider squad happy, because even if even if I'm not starting a game, like Michael Smith must be fuming to not be starting games, because at any other point in his career, at any other club in his career, he would have been playing week in, week out for us and probably be on more than 7 at this point in time. But so far, this is the best championship season that I could have even envisaged Michael Smith having. Like this level of output from him. And he comes into games and impacts them. How many times did we see last year, James, when Michael Smith was brought on or started a game, he did nothing? Like, he just come into a game and nothing had really happened for him. Now, I think that's both a mark of, as I said, like the coaching staff and also the playing staff as well. Like, they have been outstanding in that. I think the 1-0 issue surrounding it or being behind in a game is the team who you're playing with, the team who you're playing against is as fresh as you at the start of that 90 minutes. And most of the squads in this division actually are of a better quality than us. Like, we have to keep remembering that most of the squads in this division are of a better quality than us. We've got a handful. I'd say Shay Charles, Josh Windass, Bannon, obviously his age holds him back a little bit. Gassama on current form. Those are the only players from our squad that get into any of the other outside, like the top 3 sides. They're the only players who just walk into any other squad and start. Everybody else you'd be looking at and going, well, would you have Dishon Bernard? No. Would you have Max Lowe? Well, I know he's having a good season for him, but probably not. Like, if you look at the teams who are around us, your Coventries, I'm thinking your Middlesbroughs, your West Broms, if you were looking at those and saying, would you trade your 11 for our 11? They go, absolutely not. There's no way I would. But that is a huge mark on them. And it just feeds into that cycle of what we've been talking about all season. It's frustrating and annoying that we appear to have to go a goal down. But I think that is looking at it on the surface of it rather than actually thinking about every other contributing factor that kind of goes into it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that. It's just from a fan point of view, it's just a tad annoying, isn't it?
Fucking annoying, yeah.
He's already been mentioned a few times already, but and we do talk about him every single week, but within good reason. Jenny Gassama, I mean, the run for the penalty, I know someone's already commented on it already, was probably everything that was good and also everything that was bad about Jenny Gassama all rolled into one, because there was probably 4 or 5 times, no exaggeration, when I was saying to myself, and out loud as well, pass! Like, Bannon was out in acres of space on the left-hand side. I was just, because it looked like you were going to lose the ball every single time. But, I've watched it back numerous times, by the way.
Yeah.
But the lad who kind of like shirks a tackle near the end, he actually has first, as a go at him initially when Gassama picks the ball up in his own half. He's had one nibble at him and he kind of shrugs him off. Someone else has a go. Then he has another go back, and then he has a final one where he just kind of feels like he's going to trip him up. But yeah, the run was absolutely fantastic. And then to get the penalty in the end, I'm glad he did, because everyone had been like, "Fucking hell, Jenny!" Again, you just need to offload it. But yeah, it was just a fantastic run, which kind of just shows you how much confidence he's playing with at the moment.
100%. Just going back to the end of that run, I am so pleased he got brought down, because that shot was going to be a P-roller straight at the goalkeeper. He looked finished when he swung his leg back. It was like he got into space, realised he could shoot, and was like, I've got nothing left. It's that meme, innit? I've got nothing left. It was. I'm really pleased that somebody just put in a horrendous, late, lazy challenge on him.
Such a shit tackle as well. Like, what's he even thinking? Like, just brought him down and nobody had any question. Any doubt. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there was no doubt.
My words was eluding me there, but
don't worry about it, mate. There was absolutely no doubt. But the run was. I think the bit where I realised, oh, hang on, this could turn into something here, is we see him hold the ball up. He's very comfortable with his back to goal. He big Steve Bracknell arse and elbows, gets him out, and then turns away and runs away from the player. Now, we've seen that an awful lot from Jenny Gassama. It's then when he goes into the middle of the park and he does 4 rolls over, he rolls his studs over the ball 4 times because it's sticking on the pitch. And I think it was players were just expecting, Luton Town players were just expecting, going, he's going to lose this. He's going to look, how's he kept that? And then there's a lad who if you are watching back that footage in a Luton Town team meeting on, tomorrow morning, and you watch the lad who goes to put in a tackle on him and ends up getting like just bounced off him like a cartoon character, you're just thinking, oh, please don't show it. Like, if you are that player, you're thinking, please don't show it.
I'm turning up late tomorrow if that's it.
100%. And then again, the lad who shirks the tackle on the edge of the area, like, again, from a Luton Town perspective, I'd have been going fucking ballistic.
He had 3 goes at him. Three goes to try and tackle him, and didn't even get one of them right.
It was appalling from a Luton Town perspective. Now let's talk about the good of it. Every single opportunity he had, Jeddy Gassama, to protect the ball and shield it away and take it away from a defender, he did. Every single opportunity he had just to nick it away from him, or just to get his body in the way, or just to get the wrong side of him. So at worst that was going to happen was it was going to be a free kick. He did that superbly in that run. And then, he gets brought down for a penalty. It's a stonewaller. The reaction of Bannon and Charles after that run when the penalty's given, I think tells you how impressive it was. When professional footballers react like the pair of them did, like Bannon tear asses it over to him. He's rubbing his head while he's grabbing his leg. And he's like, Shay Charles does the exact same. Because up to that point, we had been better in the second half, but nobody had really taken it. As fans, we always say, we want someone to take the game by the scruff of the neck. That was it. You can't ask for more than a player driving 50 yards forward, taking on 5 or 6 Luton Town players and going and winning a penalty.
I mean, Josh Windass is looking at him thinking, mate, you've made it right hard for yourself. Just fucking hit it from there.
Yeah, just shoot.
Don't run with it. Just hit it. Like, it's much easier. Like, making it hard for yourself, mate.
But it was outstanding. And I thought he was quieter yesterday than he was kept quieter, certainly in the first half. But I thought his performance in the second half, with that fact that we'd gone to that 3 in midfield and we now had an attacking threat coming down the right-hand side in Josh Windass, it just opened up spaces for him. And he, in that second half really started turning it on. Just after that run, there was a ball that was fed to him down the line and every single fibre of my being was screaming, get it under control. And he just lets the ball run past him and just backs himself to beat the right back and does for pace. The ball that he plays in for is later on, isn't it, James, where the little outside of the football, you must have had a great view of this, that little outside of the football down the corner, down in towards the channel for Max Lowe to run on to. Where's that pace been for Max Lowe all season, by the way? He just run away from Alfie Doherty. The ball in was exceptional. I thought he played a crossed field ball as well, where he cut inside later on in the second half, where he switched the play perfectly to, I think it was Armstrong. It might be Che Charles, forgive me. Exceptional performance from him in the second half, but it did take that pitch being a little bit more spread out just to give him that extra half a yard of space. And he created all sorts of carnage. Outstanding again yesterday.
Yeah, Chef Cam said here that boggy left flank in front of the South didn't help Gassama in the first half. And then Alex said the pitch was awful. Yeah, it looked it resembled. I've seen Cleethorpes Beach look better than that, to be honest. That much sand on it.
I feel sorry for the other third new signing, James, our head groundsman, who's coming because he's got a job on his hands.
He has got his work cut out. Can you imagine what Gassama could do with an actual grass pitch rather than one that resembles a ploughed field? But the thing is, though, you know what? Now we've signed two new players. Now that's it. Budget has gone. He's had to take some from the groundsman's budget. Yeah. So when he tips up on Monday, he's got his all new, all singing, all dancing fly mower, hover mower to. But to be fair, look, why do you need a lawnmower if you haven't got grass on pitch? That's all I'm saying. So
exactly. Just again, James, I play golf. People who listen to us regularly know I play golf. I end up in the bunker quite frequently. Just a rake will do. Just a rake. That'll do. That'll be fine.
Do you know what I used to watch on Eurosport, that beach soccer? It was like Eric Cantona that were playing it. And if you've ever tried playing football on stand, I'm not talking, the firm compacted sand. It's like proper, powdery sand.
Skegness sand, yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it's going to be like, isn't it? Exactly. But anyway, less of the joking. Jesus. But I'd admit, like, if the pitch was in better condition, Danny must be absolutely pulling his hair out with that. Just, I mean, I know they had to train on there and stuff like that because they'd rented out the dome to Hallam FC, which obviously could, why, I have no idea. But But anyway, yeah, he has got his work cut out, definitely. I put a question on Twitter earlier. I'm going to put it to you as well. You can only do one. We either sign a centre-back on deadline day, or Jedi Gassama signs a 5-year deal. What would you do?
Jedi Gassama, new deal, sell him in 18 months for 10 million quid. It's not rocket science, is it? Like, again, I know people are very optimistic about our chances of us finishing in the top 6. I personally would think I'd be thrilled if we finish 10th this season and we just finish outside the playoffs. It's a fantastic season. 5-year deal. Get another 18, 24 months out of him. Sell him to Palace or Brighton or whoever for, 10 to what Romain Esse went for, 14.5 or 14.2 or something like that. He has 2 more seasons at this. He's going to surpass that. And there you go. You've got your squad budget for, if it's Sheffield Wednesday, you got your squad budget for 7 years? Like
Transfer budget for next 10 managers.
Yeah. It's just common sense. It's a short-term investment in the grand scheme of things. It's a short-term investment for a long-term gain.
Well, 81.5% people agree with you. Out of 2,000 people that have already voted on that particular poll earlier. So, I just thought it'd be a good one because obviously a lot of people, everyone's saying we need a centre back, but clearly holding on to a player that we've already got is also going to be quite key as well. Joe said Gassama no-brainer. We aren't going up, sadly. Not even sure we want to go up at this point anyway. So getting him to sign a 5-year deal would mean a serious payment if in the not too distant future. Matt said this is a no-brainer. We need a centre-back for sure, but we need to keep hold of Gassama even more. We need to tie him down soon or we'll lose him and he'll go on to play higher. Someone's also put, I think I'd rather miss out on playoffs but get to watch another season of Gassama next year. Yeah, quite a lot of people would say the same as well. Right, let's carry on. Like I said, let's talk about the first half if we have to. I did think we were very it was Jekyll and Hyde, weren't it? Really, in terms of the first half to the second half. Yeah, I felt like we started off okay, but then we just kind of let them get into the game a little bit, which was my worry, if I'm going to be honest. That we see how many games they've lost, and we see where they are in the league table, and the instant thought is these are shit. These we should absolutely pace them. But I felt like we started to be wary of them. But yeah, we let them get into the game. I felt Luton had us exactly where they wanted us. They got that goal, and then they just kept us at arm's length. We didn't really threaten much. Yeah, we put crosses in, but they seemed to deal with absolutely every cross that came into the box. It didn't really get past the first man. They headed it away, and yeah, they were. Like I said, we were good in between both boxes, but struggled to create a great deal, I thought.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's 2 things based off that first half. I think, firstly, you have to credit the opposition, as you've just done. I thought they kept us at arm's length. I thought they defended really, really well, both sorts of defensive units that were on the pitch. You're not just talking the defensive line here, you're actually talking the pressing from the front. They were really, really set up and really well organised, considering, arguably their most creative and attacking threat on that was a new player who'd signed for them 24 hours before. They had us pinned in and just made it so that your centre-halves can have the ball. The minute you try and play it forward, we are just going to we're going to engage in some sort of a press and we're going to go as a unit. I thought Carlton Morris, who by all accounts from Luton fans has been appalling this season.
What a cheating wanker he is, by the way.
compared to the standards that he has set all season and previous seasons at Luton Town, he has been awful this season. If you listen to any Luton fan, they're all like, "What's happened with him? He's been space jammed. Like it doesn't compute. Like why is he all of a sudden stopped running? Why has he stopped doing this?" I actually thought, for the first half yesterday, it was exactly what you want from a lone target man who's this big unit who throws himself into everything, whines at the referee for everything.
Oh, he was such a mardy bastard, though.
100%, James. But be honest, if he was playing in blue and white for you and he was doing that away from home for you,
I love
first
it.
half, you'd be thrilled, 100%. The other thing I thought that they did well in that first half at Luton Town was they got players around him, which they didn't do in the second half at all.
Yeah.
There was a lot of players who, because he seemed to win lots of stuff in the air in the first half, and I know that tailed off in the second half as we made kind of defensive changes and all the rest of it. But he seemed to win an awful lot in that first half, and it just seemed to bobble towards Doherty, or it seemed to bobble towards Asgard or whoever. And they played off it really well, and did really, really well. I think the second thing, and I've already mentioned it before, surrounding where the gaps were, we didn't play through the middle of the park. And our two best players are in the middle of the park in Shea Charles and Barry Bannon. They're our two most creative players. They set the tempo, they set the tone for it. And if you look at the pockets of space that they were receiving the ball in that second half, it's where we've traditionally seen them all year, off the back 3 or 4. They go in, they fill in that left or right back position, they pick the ball up and they go from there. We were unable to find those gaps in the first half, and it ended up falling to the feet of Michael Ehekwa and Deshaun Bernard to try and play a 30-yard ball through the lines, and they're just not capable of doing it. So where do they go? They go out wide, and ultimately, when one of those areas is Jedi Gassama for Luton, you just double up on him because you know he's not going to be able to beat you. And the other wing is Callum Patterson. Give him space, and he'll make the error for you. And that's not me being harsh. If you look at how uninfluential Josh Windass was in that first half, he was totally anonymous, and that's not a slight against Josh Windass. That was, he couldn't get the ball.
Well, yeah,
Like,
and he did what kind of
him.
like Wayne Rooney used to do and Harry Kane, and drop so deep. And there were points where we're like playing the Barry Bannon role. We get frustrated at Barry Bannon doing it. I'm thinking, God, if Josh is down there as well, like, who are we going to pass to? Like, there's nobody up top to, Jamal Lowe, for the best will in the world, runs around a lot, but doesn't really, very ineffective, or certainly
not his
was.
game yesterday, was it? Not
Yeah,
his game
certainly
at
was.
all.
I just don't think we played to his strengths at all. I don't think we played one game which actually suited him. We played a totally different style of football. It's almost like he's just making up the numbers. Do you know what I mean? And we just have to we don't play to suit him. He just kind of he's just a number and just fits in, really, which is a bit harsh, but that's just how it feels. But I mean,
but James, is it harsh? Like, when you look at his 45-minute performance yesterday, plenty of endeavour, plenty of work rate, plenty of try hard, couldn't get the ball to him. And when he did get the ball, because it's coming to him on a beach, he can't trap it. And before you know, he's barged off the ball and he's lost it. It's no slight against him, because he's clearly a good player. And he's, we saw at Plymouth on that opening day of the season, he can hold a ball up. He can bring others into play. He can link play. He can run behind defenders and score. We've seen it at Plymouth. We saw it at at Derby. We've seen it at Oxford, where the ball, the chance falls to him in the box and he just taps it in. We don't play to his strengths at all, And I felt sorry for him in the first half, to be honest with you, because he was getting pelters, and I was thinking, what's he got to do with this? Because he's not going to do anything.
Well, Danny didn't feel sorry for him because he dragged him at half time, didn't he? Made the changes. Armstrong came on to make his debut. Smith came on for the second successive game. And I just felt that instantly we were just much more threatening. Smith, the running with purpose as well. We were just talking about Jamal Lowe doing it. And it's funny how Smith did the same thing, played in the same position. All right, I know there was a bit of a formation tweak, but got a lot more success from it. And I don't know what it was. I don't know whether there were a bit more impetus. The fact that as I was talking about, like, kind of waiting until the 60-minute mark. I know this kind of happened from the half-time mark, really, but we just seemed to kind of pin them back. And I don't know whether it were coincided with Luton perhaps trying to play within himself a little bit and trying to protect that 1-goal lead, or and the two things worked together. But I just thought they were putting him under pressure. They were, some of the Luton defenders were shitting the pants when Smith were bearing down on him, and I just thought that, like, the presence that he had was just a much better. The hold up play as well. I just felt it was much better after we made them subs.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. Michael Smith coming on and actually being able to, properly challenge the two centre halves. He won enough headers. I think it was 5 out of his 7 aerial duels, or 5 out of 8, or something like that. So he didn't win all of them, but he did enough. But again, I go back to that centre of the park. that is what you get from playing a midfield three, because you've got people who come onto the ball. You've got people for knockdowns. You've got more people in that area where 9 times out of 10 the ball falls to. When the ball goes out wide, they've then got more space. I think it was Matt Bloomfield who came out after the game, actually Luton Town's manager, and said with Michael Smith coming on, they were actually able to go a bit more direct. And I know we didn't very often fire the ball up the pitch yesterday. You know, we've seen games this year where we have used that a little bit more than we have, say, for argument's sake, yesterday. But the outlet was actually there yesterday to go and challenge for the ball, or at least put pressure on centre halves. Whereas if you're firing a ball up to Jamal Lowe, you know, like if you're clipping a ball into him, he's not going to win it. You know, the two lads who were defending against him are a foot taller than him. Yeah. It's not his fault. He's just not going to be able to do so. And then what that does, I suppose, is because they know that there is an aerial threat, it does stretch it just a little bit just to allow those pockets to open up. I thought tactically second half, I thought, again, how many times have we said this, James? Danny just got it spot on. Recognised the changes, made them perfectly, substitutes paid off.
What's he got to do to start, though, Matt? Because this is the thing on everyone's lips at the moment. This is kind of a hot topic everyone keeps talking about, is Smith, and he needs to start next week. I keep saying it as well. I know people are saying he's better off the bench and stuff, but you know, he's sneaked into the top 20 for goals scored in the Championship now with 7. I know it was only from the penalty spot, but look, he's still got to do it. There's players on that pitch that and in the squad that can't do that from 12 yards. And you know, like I said, it changed the game massively, as we've just been talking about. And I just feel right now we just need goal scorers. We're in that time of the season where that's what, you know, you're getting to the point where it's just, I know we talked about like Gassama and Masaba and like numbers. It's almost getting, I don't think we're quite there yet, but it becomes a tipping point where it's just literally who can just get you the wins, who can get you the 3 points that you need, who can be that person in those moments. And I think, you know, last 2 games, I think he's more than shown what he can do.
I don't know, James. I don't buy the argument of he has to start. I don't think anybody, aside from Shea Charles, Bannon and Gassama at the minute, has to start. I'm big on rotation. We were crying out for it for the past 3 seasons. Why don't they rotate the squad more? You know, we'd lack these, we'd have less injuries, we'd have this. I completely take all the points about him scoring goals. But it is also about, you do have to use all of your players. Like,
I suppose you could say, has he only scored his goals because he comes off the bench? I did look at how many goals he had scored from off the bench and how many goals he scored from starting. It must be fairly equal. I guess it's probably 4 from starting and 3 from off the bench. Weren't the Portsmouth goal off the bench as well? I think?
No, he started in that game. Because he missed that absolute sitter in the first half where he had about 4 years to take a shot and he got tackled.
He did.
Yeah,
he did. You're right.
Again, it's not a criticism of Michael Smith. It's a recognition of there are certain spots on the pitch that Danny will always rotate. Unless somebody is forcing his hand, he will rotate. For me, Callum Patterson should have been nowhere near that starting 11 yesterday. He should have been nowhere near it at QPR. He rotated. He got a result. He rotated yesterday. Okay, we should have gone on to win the game. We still got a result. There is so much to be said for rotating players, and that's why you have a squad. I completely take the point, James. If, and this is a big if, we get to the playoffs, no, you play your best players who are going to get you those big goals in big moments. You play them. Yeah. But to get you there, you need all that entire 25-man squad. It's got us to this point, 2 points from playoffs. Why change that now? Because arguably, Michael Smith is fit. Jamal Lowe is fit. Ike Ugbo, I think, missing a pre-season. We've covered that to death, James. But, like, again, useful option to have on. Even if everybody just goes, oh, my God, he's been so shit for an hour. My God. Michael Smith comes off the bench and scores. I would argue that because he's a completely different threat to who's been on the pitch, defenders in those 10, 15 minutes after a change has been made where they're still trying to figure out what's going on and what system shape has gone to and all the rest of it. It's really useful. Like, you look at the changes that we made at QPR last week when Michael Smith come on. The goal comes from Smith running in behind. Now, Jamal Lowe does that. Like, Jamal Lowe runs in behind. But because they've been used to Michael Smith coming to receive the ball to either chest or just going to a head, they're not anticipating him spinning and running in behind. I just think we do so well in utilising the options that we've got. And up to this point, until you start tailing off and it doesn't work anymore, I think you've just got to stick with it.
Fair points. I'm still going to bang the drum that I want him to start next week.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. There's 100%. I take the argument for it, James. I just think you've got to rotate because we've got two out and out centre forwards. Jamal Lowe and Windass can both play there as well. I'd quite like to see, it won't happen, but I'd quite like to see a front three of Windass, Sissoko and Gassama against West Brom, because I think you're going to win fuck all in the air against Carl Bartley.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Christ, imagine the fullbacks there. They will be shit in the pants.
Yeah,
100%. You can't two up on both of them. Well, you can, but you're going to leave some massive gaps elsewhere if you do that. What were your thoughts on Luton? Because we don't normally do this and talk about the opposition in this regard. Because I thought, as we said, the first half they were kind of better than what the league suggested, but even then, I don't think they created a load of chances other than that one that they scored from, which we'll talk about in a sec. But, they just defended for their lives. And I know you've mentioned, that they defended quite well. I do think they were quite lucky, though, with some of the, ricochets and some of the... the ball could have gone anywhere in some of the instances. It just happened to not go in the back of the net for us.
Yeah. Sorry, James, while we're talking about Luton, what a shout, by the way. I had them as champions at the start of the season in our predictions, if anybody wants to go back and listen to it. So, yeah, that's how much I fucking know. No. I think they're clearly a side with quality, but they're also clearly a side who is devoid of any confidence, who for far too long of this season have gone without a plan. Alfie Doherty actually came back out at the end of the game and said it's really nice to have a plan. And I was thinking, that's quite a damning... we've heard Josh Windass do that at this point last year when he was talking about Xisco Munoz. It was a really damning indictment on Rob Edwards, who will always be, steeped in history now because he was the manager who took them up. I thought they're a side without any level of confidence, but there is quality there. The only reason they left with a point yesterday, that for my money, is the two centre-halves and the goalkeeper. He's the only reason. Those are the only reasons why they left with a point, because the keeper made... 2 or 3 really good saves. McGuinness and Mads Anderson in the first half mopped up everything that came into the box. Second half, it was much more a sort of what you'd expect from a team who were battling relegation, bodies on the line, people chucking themselves at it. There's that Mark McGuinness one that I think it's Jeddy Gassama who has the shot where he's got 10 yards of space and he absolutely cracks it. And McGuinness has got his hands behind his back and he's inside the post and it hits him square in the chest. It was where there was a handball shout from the cop, and it goes out. But there were bodies flying in. Now, I can't in good conscience sit here and say that at the start of the season, I defended our players for doing that defensively. It just didn't come off. Yesterday, you saw the alternative of that's the rub of the green when it does come off. Yeah, definitely. And like I said, they did defend resolutely. Should us what we should have done against Bristol City, really. I know we drew that game. We didn't lose it, but... Sorry, James. James has just put this in the chat. Where did Wednesday finish with their 2 CBs? Their 2 centre-backs, I would have us finishing comfortably top 6. Because they are genuinely, if you look at that performance yesterday, how much pressure did we put on them yesterday? And somehow, between the 3 of them, they've managed to get out of there with a point. Again, if I were a Luton Town fan yesterday, I would be thanking my lucky stars yesterday that those 3 players were on the park for us. Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about the chances then of the goals. Their goal, you can't give Alfie Doherty that sort of time and space on the edge of the box. We basically said to him, go on, mate, just pick your spot. And he did that with aplomb. I mean, it was a sweet strike with his left foot. Yeah. But for me, again, you've got to be... It's a tricky one, this. I said quite a few times, how many good goals have we conceded? And that is a good goal, good strike. Yeah. It's one of those, though, where I've looked at it... When it happened, I was like, yeah, we should have closed him down a lot quicker, but it's a good shot from where he's hit it. When I've watched it back, I think it's Pato that gets kind of drawn to the ball and just gives Doughty that sort of space. But then Valerie doesn't get tight enough, just decides to give him that 2 or 3 yards and just turns his back on it, like the whole kind of Sunday League sort of defending.
I mean, not taking away anything from the strike, though, it was a great goal. And I've also looked at it and gone, should Beadle have done a little bit better? But then I think the ball's just gone past him before he could even think about it.
It's an absolute rocket of a finish, James. He's 25 yards out, by the way. What a finish. We all know his quality. I think there's a couple of issues for me. First off, can we all just stop pretending the ball in was meant for Carlton Morris? It is a shocker of a delivery. When you look at it from the camera angle on the highlights, you can see how the player shapes up to play it in behind, sort of like the defenders, and he mishits it. Carlton Morris reacts quicker than Michael Ehekwa, but Michael Ehekwa is in front of Carlton Morris just before he jumps. He sort of dangles a leg at it and allows Carlton Morris to get his foot on it. Carlton Morris, very canny, holds his player, draws Callum Patterson in. For the world, it looks like he's just going to lay it off to the player in front of him and reverses the ball. Like when you were talking about Jan Valery there, I personally would prefer Jan Valery to do what he does, because what he's effectively saying to a player is from 25 yards out, shoot. Because if he goes tear-arsing in there...
He's just going to knock it past him, innit? Yeah.
If he goes tear-arsing in there, we've all seen what happens at Bramall Lane when a player does that, because there is a runner who's outside of him. He can go around the outside of him. Michael Ehekwa's not getting back. He's cleaning. I personally, in that situation, I do get it. It's frustrating. It's not like... Because when it goes in, you're thinking, well, he's got to get out quicker. But if you get out quicker, he probably takes it round him and has a cleaner strike at the ball. On James Beadle, I think it's past him before he's even... I think it's just the fact that James Beadle is so long. It looks like he can get there.
I didn't think that at the time, but it's the camera angle that's behind him. A little bit from the away end, that camera angle. And you look at it and you think, fucking hell, he's not that far away from it. He should have perhaps done a bit better. But then I think it is, because it is behind, the ball is probably past him when it...
It's hit so hard. He's hit so hard, and there's no spin on it at all. It's like a dead straight ball, which gives you an idea of the quality of the connection.
And he's dragged it across as well, and to put it into that right hand, that right hand post, rather than you'd think it's going to the left, but to drag it across the way he did, great.
Which again, James, from 25 yards out, I know he's got a good left foot. From 25 yards out, any left back in the league, go on, hit it. We've seen Daniel Padil do it for us against Wolves way back many moons ago and all the rest of it. From 25 yards out, go on, have a shot. Like, if he'd have been in the area, 100% you've got to close him down. He's 5 yards the other side of the D. Hit it, go on. Because you trust in your goalkeeper then. It's just a great strike.
Yeah, I agree. We've already talked about the run that brought the penalty, but is there a better penalty taker than Michael Smith? Because if there is, I want to know about it, because 8 penalties in normal time for us that he's put away. Just a great penalty, weren't it? The keeper dives the right way, but he's not getting nowhere near it.
Another one that is hit so hard, keeper's got no chance. Because I think there's a video, fan-filmed footage that has come out from directly behind the goal on the car, which I always do think, just side note here, James, if you're sat right behind the net, I've never done it at an away game, if you're sat directly behind the net, I'd get so pissed off all game. Just watch it. I think, wait, where's that going? I know some people must really like it.
Imagine sitting behind a pole, Matt. There's people that have to do that at Hillsborough. So
you mean like that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just leaning, neck ache when they come back in. That lad in that Barnsley photo that's gone around with a massive neck, he'd be all right. Going back to the penalty, it's just everybody in the stadium knew what side Michael Smith was going. Like, there was no doubt that Michael Smith was hitting that back across his body as hard as he could. There was no fucking about of run up and side foot it in like he did against Peterborough because he'd done it a couple of times. It was, I'm hitting this as hard as I possibly can. And I can imagine for every single Sheffield-born dad, they were like, that's how that's take a penalty, oath. It was so well hit. It was so well hit. A really good strike. Again, Kaminski, I thought, did really well because he got a hand to it, but he's just not stopping it.
Yeah, it was just a great penalty. It just showed everyone else, this is how you take a penalty, lads. Everyone that pissed off him didn't even celebrate with him, did they? He ran off to down into the corner and everyone fucked off back to the halfway line. So, I thought that would be funny. Come on, lad, you at least have a bit of a celebration with him. Just scored as a goal, got back in the game, man. There's a multitude of chances. I mean, first of all, the Smith chance that when turns into a Windass chance that he puts over the bar. I mean, first of all, great ball in from Max Lowe, great run from Smith as well. Gets himself in between both defenders as well. Probably one of the only times where we've done that all game. 12 yards out. This time the ball wasn't stationary. This time it was moving. And he just, I mean, at the time when it comes in, I've just thought it's a goal. Like, he's come across and he's hit it with some power, probably connected with it too well, if we're being honest. And then it falls to Windass. And again, for all the world, I mean, I'm already at my seat and I'm just like arms aloft thinking, this is it. It's a goal. It's going to be 2-1. But I mean, giving the benefit of doubt, it is on the it just bounces, doesn't it? It just doesn't get there. He's hitting it on like the half volley rather than on the volley. So the ball's already on the way up. And then their defender, I don't know, I can't remember who it was, he got out to him to put him off. Yep. But yeah, was you the same, Matt? Was you already arms aloft thinking this is the 2-1?
No, I'll be honest, James, no. I thought the interchange down wide was really good. The outside of the boot ball, I've spoke about earlier on with Jenny Gassama, nicks it down the line to Max Lowe. I then immediately looked in the middle because all season I've been watching forwards be 3 yards behind the centre half and was watching.
Thankfully, Ikobo wasn't on the pitch.
Well, that's what I mean. Is I was actually watching Michael Smith rag. I think it was Mads Anderson or was it McGuinness? One of the two, and he's shoving him off. Like, he's actually created the yard of space for him. He's in the width of the penalty, in the width of the goal. I'm thinking, oh my word! And as you say, it's too good a connection because a yard either side of Kaminsky, or if it's on the floor and he manages to keep it down, keeper don't save it. Like, even if it's in the goalkeeper's area, he's past him before he knows what to do with it. It's the fact that it does come at Kaminsky at I'm not being critical of Smith here because it's a really difficult skill. It's a nice height for a goalkeeper, if that makes sense. It's like shoulder height, face height, and he palms it up into the air. And when it was dropping, you could see Windass. In real time, you're thinking, oh, he's just going to walk onto this and tap it in. He then tries to take out one of the posters from pre-game in the cot behind. When you actually watch it back, he has to check his run, and come back inside and reshuffle his feet. And he actually manages to do so really, really quickly. But he isn't actually allowed to kick through the ball. Like, he's not allowed to, again, as my dad would have said, get your head over it. He's not able to do that. He has to kind of like dangle a foot at it sort of thing. And by that point, you've got no chance. I mean, it's also coming off a mound of mud as well. So you've got no idea what way it's going to break. It'd be like dropping, I know Six Nations is on. It's like dropping a rugby ball onto grass. You've got no idea which way it's going to bounce.
I was just like head in my hands, like, that was a golden opportunity, golden chance. And you're thinking, are we going to get many more? Because obviously at this point, I know we were battering him, but there's times where you're thinking, we miss big chances, and then they go down the other end and going to score. But we didn't have to wait too long though, because Windass has another effort. I mean, sends the lad for an hot dog, just chops inside and see you later, mate. Ta-ra, on his weaker left foot as well. Yeah, great strike. One of those that's kind of like low and hard, and it's curling into that bottom corner. Again, keeper gets a good hand to it. And again, for once, actually following him up, following these chances up and getting there. But again, I suppose great defending. I'm thinking like this is it. This is the goal. Like, he's just going to poke it in, and then it went agonisingly wide. I think the keeper actually gets a touch on it. Yeah, and it actually gives a goal kick. I think keeper touches it, and then it skims off the outside of the post as well. It was at this exact moment where I'm thinking, we're not going to win this game.
At that point, James, I wasn't quite resigned to the fact that we weren't going to win it. It was when Bannon basically just decided I'm not going to cross the ball with about 3 minutes to go. That was when I was like, oh, it's done here. But as you rightly say, the save from Kaminsky on the follow-up for Jenny Gassama, I think, is the most impressive thing, because the original save from Windass is good because it obviously it bounces, it hits the floor just before he gets his hand to it. So it's actually a really good save. But we've been banging on about James Beadle all year. He palms it out into dangerous areas. Kaminsky did exactly the same. The difference being McGuinness is switched on enough to know that he's got a run of the other side of him. He does enough to shove Gassama off. And genuinely, again, sometimes you just have to stand up and clap. What a save that is. Because he's back up on his feet to then get right down again to make the save. Really good save. Just very, very frustrating, because that was the only thing that was missing from Jenny Gassama's performance yesterday was a goal.
Yeah, I agree. Let's hear from Ollie then as well. Ollie's the Luton fan who, as you mentioned, I got on the preview show earlier on. He gave us a voice note on his thoughts of the game yesterday. Well, he would have done if we could hear it, but not sure what's happened there. He's playing, but it's not coming out, so no idea what's happened there.
Oh, there you
go. And,
there we go.
Being honest, I thought it was a game of two halves. That old cliche, Luton Town probably being the better team in the first half. Alfie Doughty's goal was excellent. It really was. Like, we don't see many goals like that scored from outside the box when you're a Luton Town fan. Second half, only one team was really up for it. I think in the second half, Luton Town really struggled, especially to sort of trap the ball in the Sheffield Wednesday half. Carlton Morris, especially, I think he could be on his way out, or we could potentially be bringing in a striker to like take his starting position. And he just wasn't winning anything in the air. I think Michael Smith for Sheffield Wednesday really turned the game and showed him how to hold up play and bring others into play. And I think it was Gassama. That was a great run, but in all fairness, I do think that we should have stopped him in the middle of the park. A couple of powder puff challenges going in, especially from Jordan Clark and Rua Walters. We let him run through us too easily and give away a penalty. And then last 20 minutes, it was very much one-way traffic. One bright spark from RM was our new signing, Nick Ali. He did one run in particular that was good and worried Sheffield Wednesday a fair bit. But yeah, towards the end, it was attack versus defence. I'll take the point, because if we had lost that game, which we very much could have lost towards the end of the game, it would have been a record equaling 13 away games on the spin that we would have lost. So I'm glad that record isn't being beaten. Well, this game anyway. Hope.
It goes on to carry on talking about Luton, which we're not really that bothered about, to be fair. I don't want to hear about his record that we didn't manage to extend and beat and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it were fair. But yeah, it's just it's always great to hear what opposition fans have to say, and whether it, especially if it is a draw, because I mean yesterday was clear that we were absolutely battering in that second half. I didn't, you didn't have to be a Sheffield Wednesday fan to work that out, but I always like it when it's a bit closer and you just see it with the other tinted glasses on from their perspective sometimes. Right, let's read out some of the 3-word match reviews out. We're going to talk about the West Brom coming up and also the protest as well. Neil said needed a win. Ben's gone with liability at home. Andy says more points dropped. Jamie's gone with frustrating first half. Andy says got to win these. Olivia, another winnable draw. Yep, definitely. Certainly the last 3 at home. Mr. Bondosaurus, or Ashley, has said points dropped again. North York's Owl started too slow. Richard's gone with 2 points dropped. Ian says Jeddy the baller. Adam's gone with Armstrong looking solid. Tell agrees with me. Smith must start. Dave says Sort starting 11. Thinking, Danny probably got it a little bit wrong. Jones, stop conceding first. And Scott says Charity strikes again. If you want to read all those, head over to Twitter at WTID Pod and just scroll back to around about 5 o'clock on Saturday, and you can read all the other 3-word match reviews. Don't forget to get involved after every single game on the socials as well. The protest then. Before we start, Wednesday's debate show is going to be about this as well. So if you want to hear your thoughts on all of this, so do join us Wednesday at 8:00 over on YouTube and Twitter and all that. You get all your thoughts heard. Because obviously it was planned. There was one against Leeds for the away game, which got quite a lot of exposure, and then obviously did one again yesterday. Got the yellow flyers, as they did against Birmingham. I want to say was the other time that we did it. I think last season, might be wrong. First of all, I just want to say as well, some of the reports from a few that were handing the flyers out were shocking. Being spat at, especially if you don't agree with what's been happening, let's not resort to doing stuff like that. Just walk past and just. You don't have to take part like that. That's the first thing. It's not for everyone. They're not hurting anyone. It's just what's seen to be a peaceful protest or demonstration. I mean, that being said, though, I think the whole protest or demonstration or whatever you want to call it, a sign of intention, maybe it wasn't as impactful as the last one. There weren't as many people holding them up with it.
No, I think no matter what side of the fence you sit on, James, just going back to that point about the way that some individuals were stating that they'd been treated by fellow Sheffield Wednesday fans yesterday, every single person in this country at this point in time has a right to protest, no matter the issue, whether it be social or political, no matter what it is. I'm of the opinion that the individuals involved in this, without question, want the best for the football club. And want to see changes being made that are positively impacting for a supporter. It's their right to try and do something in terms of making their voice heard. In fact, the chairman has invited Sheffield Wednesday fans, not only a number of weeks ago, to find buyers for the football club. If you actually stop and have a look at the poster that was handed out yesterday, it basically wasn't protesting anything to do with Chancery. It was saying Sheffield Wednesday fans have been asked to find a buyer. Here we are. Basically, you need to find, we are here. The club is for sale. They were all about that yesterday, the posters. If you don't agree with it, just walk on by. It's not harming you. I've been very open about my views on the current running and the state of play behind the scenes at Sheffield Wednesday. The fact that my views on the chairman are what they are don't lead me to turning on everybody in sight who doesn't agree with me. I actively want to hear reasons why people have a differing view to me, whether that be on protests or whether that be on why they feel the chairman is doing as good a job as he can possibly do with the resources that he has available to him or the situation that he finds himself in. Again, I've had a number of conversations over the past couple of weeks with people who have differing views to me. It doesn't have to result in a slagging match.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to result to that.
Yeah, I put a tweet out earlier just kind of illustrating that point that, not many people did take part in it, but I just kind of wanted to know the reasons why. Like, why was that? Is it because we've signed 2 new players? Is it because you just don't want to protest? Is it because you think Chancery is the best thing since sliced bread? Like, it could be a number of different things as to why you didn't want to hold the yellow flyer up. It might even be that you just didn't see anyone handing them out as well. It's just simple things like that. And it was good as well that there was, again, people showing the other side of the fence. Is again, we don't need to come on here and say how we feel. Just scroll back to last week or the week before or the week before that or the week before that one, and you'll find exactly what how we feel on the matter. But it is good just to, because the 1867 group, not officially, but they've put out on their own personal socials that it's no more. They've had enough. They can't. They're not doing it, and fair play. For what they've tried and stuff. But the feeling for me is with all of that, now we just have to kind of understand. Let's just, as a fan base, I think we just need to understand what everyone wants, because everyone's different, aren't they, Matt? Some people just want to go to the game, and they're not that arsed. I see there's a lot of. There's probably more than this, but you've got your absolute diehards that bleed blue and white. If you cut them open, that's it. It'll say SWFC like a stick of rock. Mm-hmm. Then you've got those that travel home and away that are avid fans as well. That I say spend a lot of money on tickets and travel and stuff. Then you have your season ticket holders. Then you've just got your members that go to as many as they can, but perhaps can't because of work and stuff. Then you've got your casual fans. And then you've got some that don't really give a shit. It's just something to do. And there will be those. I mean, why are you paying the prices to come to Hillsborough? Yeah. I don't know, but if you're in that bracket, and there's probably more brackets as well. You've got those that live further afield that perhaps can't get, and I get that. But not everyone's the same. I don't think. Not everyone has the same view. There was one person that replied and just said, "I didn't take part in the protest because I go with my 7-year-old son and we just go to watch the football." Yeah. And that's perfectly fine as well. Like, you don't have to do all this. I mean, there'd be some people that went, they didn't even have a clue what it was or what was happening. Do you know what I mean? Like when they turned up. And I think now, like I said, I think it's just we just need to just start to understand what people are actually wanting from the chairman, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, because I think the other thing that I've seen a lot of today, and the other thing that I do have to remind myself is that a lot of the people who were in that ground yesterday on social media, and again, what social media does is it shows you content that you are likely to engage with. So it shows you stuff that you are likely to agree with or is going to be really polarizing to you. It doesn't show you all the shit in the middle where it's like some good, some bad. It shows you designed to get a reaction out of you so you stay on the platform. For anybody who does want to learn more on this, please come to any of my Year 10 PSHE lessons. But I suppose with all of this, like a couple of the things that I saw based surrounding the statements that were released from this, because there was a lot of people who, with the lads who put out the individual statement saying that they were no longer attached to the group and they were hoping for somebody else to take up the mantle. I think the other thing that has been missed in this is that these are real human beings. They're not just an avatar on a screen. They are real human beings who have invested a lot of time, a lot of their own money, a lot of... nicest will in the world, they will be better placed than I will be to say this, but they've invested a lot of their own sanity in this, in trying to make it better. And there was a lot of people
not
saying...
only that, they've put the head above the parapet now, and people know who they are now as well.
100%.
You know what I mean, and that was obviously their fear initially. They didn't want that, and they've kind of been, by everyone else has kind of said, you need to do this, you need to put a face behind it, and then they've done that, and then they've no further forward for doing that. It's almost like they've just been led a little bit down a garden path. Now, I will say as well, and I've said this to them, actually in a message. Yeah. I'm not just saying it on here, but I do feel like they didn't go about it the right way initially, and I do feel like a lot of people kind of back the kind of initiative, but they won't back the group, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well. And I think that's an interesting point, because a couple of the comments that I was reading in the build-up to, obviously, the proposed protest that happened at the weekend, they were saying, like, I don't like it before games. Well, when then? Because that is the time to do it, when there is attention on it, when most people are free to be able to do it. This isn't their full-time job. They are ordinary people like all of us listening to this or reading this. They have to give up time. The next argument was, well, don't disrupt the players. It doesn't. The stuff in the build-up surrounding the fans forum, that disrupted players, because they all said, it's been tense. Deschamps Bernard came out and went, yeah, it's been a tense atmosphere. That shit disrupts the players, not supporters holding up some yellow signs. Like, that doesn't disrupt them. Yesterday was a prime example. We actually had an at-home atmosphere for the first 15 minutes of a game before it went flat. And then second half, as the team played better, we went back into that being reactionary and getting songs going and all the rest of it. But it was very, very flat in the weeks leading up to this. But yesterday, there was an atmosphere post it. There was then an argument I saw, well, people should stay after games and protests. Why? There's no bugger there. Like, there is literally there's no cameras. If you've ever popped over to Spain, for argument's sake, via a VPN to watch the game online, they literally go, final whistle goes, they watch the two managers shake hands, then they show the highlights and they're off. Like, why? This isn't like Sky or the Premier League or anything like that. They show the highlights and that's it. There's no, like, we're going to pan round and do this. Everyone is very quick to poke all these holes in every protest attempt at the minute. Well, it can't be banners, it can't be this, it can't be that, for whatever reason. Fine. Those who are dancing on the graves of these poor individuals in terms of this attempt, you've got your wish. They've said they're gone, they are now gone. Those same individuals don't start crying when something happens you don't like your season ticket goes up, like all of the other reasons that me and you have spouted on here for 50 million other different reasons as to why Sheffield Wednesday behind the scenes needs to change and potentially, in my opinion, certainly, I won't speak for anybody else, needs new ownership and leadership. If you're moaning about, well, something needs to be done about this, well, who now is going to do it, James? You made
nobody's going to do it, are they?
No,
nobody's...
I mean, I certainly wouldn't. Like, I'm happy to sit on here and talk about it, but I certainly wouldn't be putting myself. Like, I've got nicest will in the world. I've got a son to go home to. I don't want people spitting at me. I don't want people like getting into like physical confrontations with me over my view about a football club. Like it's just bonkers.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. When things do get worse, and then people do agree that something needs to be done, nobody's going to do it because of what's happened now. And yeah, it's. I feel like again apathy's setting once again. And I do agree that we need to understand more, but then I hear some people saying it's wrong timing, and it annoys me, that one, because every time is the wrong time.
Yeah,
there is no
always
right
going to be a reason
to
not
protest
to.
Because so let's nothing happened yesterday. They agree not to do it because the transfer window is still open. Now, one thing as well, that shows that you're kind of scared of what Chansiri might do, and I've seen some people say that I didn't take part in it because what if he just throws his toys out of the pram and we don't sign anyone? I feel like it's a very short-sighted way of looking at it, and also, again, what we're saying there is we are scared of what the chairman may do to the football club, which in its own right should be a reason why he shouldn't be the chairman of the football club. If you're scared of him, that's not how it works. You shouldn't be scared. You shouldn't be scared of someone or scared of what they might do next. So they wait. The next home game, we've got 2 away games next. So we win yesterday. I know we didn't. So we win yesterday. Then we've got West Brom. I mean, to be fair, if we win on Saturday, we can still go into the top 6.
Yeah.
We've got Swansea as well after that. We could be in a situation where, come by the next home game, that they might do something. We could be in the top 6. Then that's not going to be the right time either, because we're in the top 6 now, and it could derail us and this, that, and the other. Or you wait until we're shit. You wait until we're like last season where Cisco were in charge. You wait until the wheels do come off, and then you get the people saying, "Where were you when we were doing well? You're only doing this because results are bad." I think I've said this before as well. This is the problem with being quote unquote massive. You've always got
Yes, it's it.
Get that ticked off your bingo sheet. You've always got a section of the fans which sound like the majority every single time with that same view. When in actual fact they're probably not the majority, but it certainly looks like it. On if I get 100 messages of the same, tell me the same thing, I'll feel like, Christ, that is a lot of people. Yeah, it might be that there's 2,000 people that have the different view, but won't share it, if you know what I mean. So, point I'm making is everyone keeps shouting, and the other thing, the guys on the 1867 group, as you mentioned, they're just normal people. They're not in PR. They're not in media. They've never done a protest before. They've probably seen others that have happened. They've tried to emulate what's happened elsewhere. They don't know. They've not got any experience in doing this. All they are just people that want the best for the football club. And as we said before, if you agree with them, great. If you don't agree with them, that's also absolutely fine. Yeah. Difference is now is, as you said, let's not go crying when something else worse happens at some point. God forbid Danny Röhl leaves at the end of the season, which and we might be in. It's just. I don't know what to think at the moment. I just don't.
Sorry,
know what to
James.
think.
Just before you move on, because I know we're running short on time here. Just going back to that point I was saying about people disrupting games and disrupting the flow, and I don't want to disrupt the players. Do you want me to tell you what was arguably more disruptive yesterday? People booing them off after the first half. That's more disruptive than somebody holding up a yellow poster. That's not doing all of that. Backing the team. That's none of that. That's disgusting. That's this. You think about the times historically when we have booed a side off, it has been fucking abysmal. There have been a number of times this year where, because we're not 2 or 3 up, or the football hasn't been free flowing and we haven't been dominating teams, there have been a section of our fan base who have been at Hillsborough, and it is regular match day going fans who are season ticket holders or members or people who walk up as general admission. they are booing a side who are 2 points off the playoffs, who are overperforming.
Yeah,
that is more disruptive than anything to do with somebody holding up a yellow poster before kickoff.
Yeah, I just want to read this one out as well from Paul. Only way he can make changes for the club is through his pocket, but most fans will not stop going because they support the team and Danny. I get that, and it's never going to happen.
No.
It's never because there's so many people that, as I just mentioned before, that just haven't got a clue what's happening, or they just want to go and watch the football. There's so many of those people, which is it's fine. You can be like that. There's so many people, but for the 2, 3, 4,000 people that might partake in something like that and not buy something and not do this or that and the other, it won't have any effect. It won't look any different. It'll just look like 2,000 or 3,000 people haven't turned up. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not all in it together. We're not all. There's probably a lot of people. I put a poll out before, after the fans forum, and there was 80% that were anti-Chansiri, and I dare say that some of the, given the replies that I get, that a lot of the 20% could have potentially been United fans as well. So,
let's be honest here. They are loving every second of this.
Of course they are.
There
was a lot of people that were against him after that, and then we see that it just doesn't really match up. But like I said, it is what it is. Back the team, not the regime, and all that. The other thing I want to, and before we just talk about West Brom quickly, the other thing I want to say as well is I have no problem with who the chairman is. It can be anyone for all I care. I just want them to be doing the right things for the football club. I want it to be fair in terms of from a pricing point of view. I want there to be a strategy, and I want them to kind of listen as well. And at the moment, the chairman doesn't hit any of those marks. Now, if he changes tomorrow and starts doing those things, happy days, fair enough. My worry is that he hasn't done any of those for 10 years now, and that's where the problem lies. Anyway,
the stuff on the playing side, James, you can make an argument is changing with the current manager who is here. We're signing younger players. We're signing experience with quality for very low fees. We're looking at tying down young players to long-term contracts to sell them on for a fee. That tide is changing. Like that tide is changing. Whether you believe that the manager's been backed or not, I think that's a different matter. It's the other stuff that goes on that directly impacts us as fans that simply for 10 years just hasn't and won't change currently.
Do you know what, though? At this moment in time, right now, he needs someone to say to him, someone close to him, Packs out, maybe he's probably closest one to him. Someone, but joking aside, someone to say to him, right, you've got an opportunity here to kind of win some people over, because it's already seen, everyone hated you, but yet there were a protest and not really many people took part. So, and they've now gone away. So he's got an opportunity here with a few quick wins. It can actually, there's some people that will hate him, and no matter what he does, they'll continue to hate him forever. We could sign, I don't know, Erling Haaland next week, and they'll still not like him.
Another forward who doesn't get touches, great.
Yeah. But also as well, like there's some that will sit on the fence, and we've already seen they make a few signings and they're quite happy. So if you do some more things like that, you'll win more people over, and actually people will, they might not love you, but they'll just not hate you anymore. Yeah. So there's an opportunity here for him actually to do something good, and that is the worry, that again he doesn't surround himself with those sorts of people that can see these sorts of things and actually and you know what, as a fan base, I think we've shown as well, we don't need a great deal. Just put all badge on a shirt and we'll buy it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
tell us it's limited and we'll absolutely rush. We'll take days off work. We'll do this. We'll do that. Tell us we're going to fucking Wembley at the end of this year. He could put season tickets at 900 quid and he'll still sell 1,000 of them.
Yeah, put a pie and a pint on for £5 and I'm not having tea. I'm going to have one of them instead. Like, do you know what I mean? We're daft like that. We'll do anything. Like, it doesn't have to like reinvent the wheel. Like, oh God. Yeah. Anyway, West Brom Saturday.
Just before we go on to our upcoming loss to follow that draw win loss form, Can I just shout out something really positive that did happen yesterday, James?
Go on
I
then,
actually
yeah,
got to
of course
bump
you can.
into long-term listener of the pod, Alex Young, who travelled up from Devon, as we've heard several times. I did actually get to bump into him yesterday. He was great. Like, great value. I only got to speak to him for a very, very short amount of time. But you know, when we were talking about all these people travelling from all over to come and watch us,
Yeah.
it was when he actually put it into perspective of like, oh, well, the game finishes at, 5. I said, oh, what time are you going to get home? About 12:30. I was like, fuck that. I was like, don't get me wrong. I love this and I will travel up and down the country, but Jesus Christ, that is a stint. So yeah, absolutely fair play to him yesterday.
Yeah, great stuff. He's always in the comments and stuff. So do love all that, as everyone else that gets involved in the comments as well. Yes, West Brom. They lost this weekend against Plymouth. I saw it. I went up to the stand like as it was 87th minute or 86th minute or something like that. I should have stayed a couple of minutes longer because I'd have seen a goal. But they lost to bottom side Plymouth at the weekend. They've got 8 points in the last 6, which puts them 13th in the form. Just in comparison, where we've got 9 in our last 6 and we sit 10th in that. They occupy that 6th place in the league. They are 10 games unbeaten at home though, and they've only lost 1 at the Hawthorns as well. Where we are 3 games unbeaten though, if you want to say that. Would you make any changes other than Michael Smith starting, of course, which you've already kind of bottomed off that one, haven't we? You know,
Callum Patterson's not starting either. Callum Patterson is not starting this game of football. I would be really tempted to go with the side that finished the game at the weekend, because I think in terms of not like I'm talking about the one that played predominantly for that half. I'm talking Gassama out left, Michael Smith up top, Josh Windass out right, 3 in the middle, 4 across the back. I'm not talking about bringing Neymar back in and chucking what's his name and chucking Max Lowe into centre half, because I think they will actually try and attack us. Obviously, again, I live very close to a lot of West Brom fans. I've got a very close mate of mine who's a West Brom fan. They are very hit and miss at this point in time. So he travelled down to Plymouth on the weekend and he just said, if you just let us have the ball and then break with purpose, you'll be fine. You should win. And I was thinking, this is what we do away from home. I was literally thinking, this is music to my ears. This is exactly what we do. So you know what's going to happen. 1-1 on the weekend.
Yeah, and a bit of a draw. Yeah. I just see it's quite a big game. This one on Saturday.
This is a big game.
If we have any aspirations of getting in the top 6, look, if we don't win on Saturday, can we still get in the top 6? Of course we can. However, like this is kind of a statement game, and also as well, some people will remind us that we haven't beaten a team that's above us in the league yet this season. So
aside from West Brom.
Yes, exactly. I think we were the same. We beat them twice last season as well. No, we didn't. We beat them once. Did we beat them twice?
Yeah, once at the end of the... No, we definitely didn't beat them. We definitely didn't beat them twice, because that was Cisco's last game of, do you think it's going all right? Nope.
Yes, it was that one. How could I forget that one? That was the most one-sided 1-0 I've ever seen in my entire life, that one.
It was also the most consecutive defeats. You record-breaking owls.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think if Armstrong starts, I think he looked great when he came on at half time. Obviously, Smith, as I've mentioned. I'd like to see the new lad, Sissoko, given some minutes. I think it will be off the bench, but yeah, things are looking quite positive at the moment, and long may that continue. Don't I mean? Let's keep this positive run going. Were you being serious with the 1-1 draw? Is that what you think it's going to finish?
I can see West Brom scoring, is the honest answer. I know they haven't really got many options, if any, at all, pretty much up front at the minute. I just think they are a side that like to monopolise and dictate. I mean, it's a very Tony Mowbray style of football. I always think is free flowing, and some days, clearly at the moment, it's very much some days it's going to work, some days it's not. I actually am unsure whether West Brom will finish in the playoffs, because I think they've had a lot of big things happen to them this season. They've had a takeover, they've had a new manager, they've had a lot of kind of like squad rotation and players, and they're sort of like really finding their feet. I think West Brom are going to be a stronger proposition next season than they are currently. But again, as you say, at this point in time, if you are serious, because I am sceptical about our chances of finishing in the top 6, if you are serious about it, go win this, because it will then start making every one of these running games. You know, this time last year, we were going away to Millwall around this game week last year. We were going away to Millwall and going, this is a must-win game. For our top 6 chances, this is, in my opinion, yes, you can do it without it. This is a statement big win game if you can get it, but I do think it'll be 1-1,
Yeah, it puts us amongst them if we can win. Do you know what I mean? And then we're in it then, because we have got some tough games coming up.
Massively.
But again, you know, other teams will be looking and thinking, do you know what? They might have had us as a bit of a dark horse, but actually now we're up there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So we'll see what happens. When you said, you know, obviously we like one of the most exciting teams. Again, just totally off topic, but I looked at Burnley the other day. And I was like,
they are not.
Bloody hell. This is their last games at home. 0-0, 0-0, 0-0, 2-1, 0-0, and they've had another 2 0-0. So I saw someone saying that I've got my value for money with my season ticket at Turf Moor this season. They've seen fuck all goals.
I'd take another one of those in a couple of weeks on a Friday, though. Absolutely, I'd take one of them 0-0s coming up.
Definitely. Right, let's wrap things up. We've ran on a little bit this evening. Massive thanks everyone for listening live. If you have done or listening back to this on a Monday morning, a reminder: you can get all your merch. You get I mean, this is a bit long in tooth, this t-shirt, but I still see people. Yeah, I still see people wearing it, and you know, whilst ever that stand's got the, you know, whilst it's a cantilever stand, it'll always be there. But yeah, you can get all your merch. All the links, just go to the socials. All the links are in there. I don't need to read them all out. You can find them all there. And yeah, we're going to be talking about the new signings that we've made and kind of a bit of a transfer window stuff before the window shuts tomorrow over an extra time. So yeah, do join us for that one. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you all next time. Cheers.